picnic table or something. As Frank said, it's frustrating because you know that trackers aren't there to honestly show your views and to give you the opportunity to express them. You know, they're there to take an excerpt out of context and make it look bad. And that'll certainly happen if I talk about my motivations for running. I can say that it is the hardest decision I've made in my life because I knew what it would involve. I had a dad who was in politics. When I was a boy, my dad worked closely with Governor Reagan. He and Reagan began collaborating when Reagan was still a Democrat in 1962. They worked together on some congressional campaigns, getting good conservatives elected. They collaborated on the Barry Goldwater campaign. In 1966, Reagan was elected governor. My dad was elected to the state senate. Dad became the Republican caucus chairman, and then after the resignation of his predecessor, was appointed by Governor Reagan as lieutenant governor. So what was already a close working relationship became really a daily partnership. I was proud of my dad for what he did, but it was hard. You know, he was gone all the time. He missed a lot of important events in our lives. You know, he couldn't be there for back to school nights and sports and, you know, bedtimes most of the time. And as much as I loved him and as much as I respected him, you know, I felt lonely. I mean, I wished I just had a dad who could come home after work and be with me. And Dad tried to make up for lost time. He'd take me with him to the Capitol, and, you know, I mean, I had a lot of opportunities, so I don't mean to sound self-pitying. But I knew from firsthand experience that there was a price to be paid. Now, I love my family more than anything. No other success can come close to compensating for failure in the home. I have a 7-year career as a soccer coach. They had to get, you know, suspended for this. I love coaching Little League. I love working with the Boy Scouts. I love just being there. You know, that's gone. So, I mean, honestly, I decided not to. I felt that the race could be won, that it was important to win. I had been asked to run by not dozens, hundreds of good people who live in the district, whose judgment I really respect. You know, but I felt it doesn't have to be us. You know, someone else can do this. And I told my wife, Elaine, thinking she'd be relieved that I'd come to that conclusion. And what she said really surprised me. And she said, these people would take a bullet for you. You know, they're marching into battle. They've asked you to go. And, you know, don't you use the kids or me as an excuse for not getting there. Now, get back into the arena and give it everything you've got. I was really surprised. And I expressed my surprise to Elaine, and she said she was really surprised too. That wasn't what she had expected to think or feel or say, but she did. So, I guess, Frank, answering your question, what motivated me? Well, my family. I mean, I've got 4 really important reasons for caring what happens in Congress. Madison, Jonas, Ariel, and Benjamin. They are the ones who are the victims of physical child abuse. They are the ones who are victims of intergenerational theft. They are the ones who are going to have to pay the price for this explosion of federal spending. Congress, including the incumbent representative here, is spending money like it's gushing out of that well under the Deepwater Horizon in the Gulf of Mexico. They are borrowing money we don't have to spend on programs we can't afford. And all of us who have worked in business understand that there is no such thing as an unpaid debt. Somebody is left holding the bag. And if our generation won't pay the principal, then the next generation is going to be trapped paying the interest. And there's a price tag attached to that. And the price is our children's freedom. Take the national debt as it exists now. It's $13.3 trillion. A trillion has 12 zeros after it. Divide it by the entire population of the country. Man, woman, child, legal or illegal. The Census Bureau says there are 308 million people here. Well, do the math. The national debt is already at $43,000 per capita. That's not per taxpayer. Per taxpayer is nearly triple that. For every one of us, we already owe $43,000. You want to put that on your balance sheet next time you apply for a loan? But here's where it gets worse. That number is going to more than double in less than 10 years. And that's not a Republican talking point. That's the administration's own Office of Management and Budget. That's the Congressional Budget Office. We're running trillion-dollar-plus deficits almost indefinitely. So here's what it means for my kids. By the time my youngest goes to college, his share of the national debt is going to be well over $80,000. His share of interest on that national debt over his working life is going to be about $250,000. That's a house. That's the price that our irresponsibility has put on his head. So ultimately, I'm running for Congress because my kids have been put into indentured servitude by a Congress that will not discipline itself to live within its means. And every time I see one of those billboards that says, this project funded by the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, I am not a graffiti artist, but I want to take a can of spray paint to it and say, no, this project funded by my kids who aren't even old enough to work yet. So, I mean, ultimately, John Adams, our second president, said there are two ways to enslave a nation, and he hated slavery. For him, that was the bitterest pill to swallow in connection with the establishment of our Constitution. And he didn't use a word like enslave lightly. He said there are two ways to enslave a nation. One is by arms, the other is by debt. Our current political class, from both parties, has chosen the latter. It's not just expensive, it is immoral. It is wrong. It is the antithesis of the American dream. Instead of leaving the rising generation a legacy of liberty and opportunity, we are leaving them a crushing burden of debt that they will be very hard-pressed to pay. When I was a kid, this was a free country. Reagan used to say that liberty is not a birthright. Each generation must earn it anew. We stand on the shoulders of people who gave everything so that our rights to life and liberty and the ability to pursue our own happiness, to go chase our own bliss, would be preserved. Now we can sit back and coast on that, or we can do our part to preserve it for the next generation, and we better, because time is drawing short. The ship of state is listing badly on very stormy waters. Sorry for that. And we need all hands on deck. So if any of this sounds like what you believe in your heart of hearts, I mean, if this speaks to you, then I need your help. The other side has a lot more money than we do. As you've seen tonight, you know, they're not going to make it easy. So can I win? It depends on you. I mean, can you win your precinct? If you win your precinct, and you win yours, and you win yours, then we'll win the race. And that's what it comes down to. It is going to be very, very close. I mean, it is now. All of the polling has us within the margin of error. There's one where I'm up one, there's another where I'm down a couple. I mean, it's way too close for comfort. There is no excuse for complacency. Voting ends 7 weeks from right now. But it starts in just 3 weeks. 2/3 of the ballots in this race will be cast by mail. And absentee ballots get mailed 2 weeks from Monday. I mean, it's coming fast. Time is short. So if the views and values I've expressed reflect your own, then this is your campaign. Invest in it now. Talk to the folks at the table here. Talk to Sarah Bleehouse on your way out. Sign up to walk a precinct, to come into headquarters and work on the phones. If you can, pitch a little into the Treasury. We'll put it to good use. Let me leave you in closing with a thought expressed by George Washington in his first State of the Union address. He said,